Okay, Team Impact. Actually, shooting this on Tuesday here. Um, so I know I'm going to be out on Thursday. So I have to go to a funeral. Um, so we're going to be getting into the data and statistics packets, our last packet. It should be all new material to you. So you're definitely going to need a calculator for this. Um, and hey, let's get started here. So let's flip it open, and some of the staples you'll notice when I punch holes in them, the stapler on the copier has problems. So I apologize if you need to restaple that. All right, so we're going to start off with this, um, with what we call a statistical question. All right, so what is a statistical question? All right, and what types are there and things like that. So well, let's get into the vocab and get started. Okay. Data can be described as a collection of facts. Okay. All right. So, for example, numbers, measurements, observations, and descriptions. Categorical data. So, we have two types. Categorical data is where we put data into groups. This data represents characteristics. Okay, characteristics. CHARACTER sorry, ISTICS, characteristics, and is often put into groups. So, categorical groups. You want to make sure you understand that. Numerical data. This data represents values that can be measured. Now, we're not talking about measuring with a tape or a ruler or something like that. We're measuring with a data value. So, that's important that you understand that. Task one. Here we go. So on the first task, it says read each statement to determine if it is referring to categorical or numerical data. All right, so let's start with Luke. Remember, categorical is group, data is, and numerical is measure. I am collecting data to determine each student's favorite genre of book to read. All right, so is that categorical or numerical? Well, let's come down here. And I would say that that is categorical. All right. Why? Well, because the responses will be book genres, and genres are nonfiction, biography, autobiography, all right, and fiction, things like that. So the responses all right, are book genres, right? So those are the groups. Okay, so categorical means groups. DeMarcus. DeMarcus says, I am collecting data to determine how many hours of sleep each student in our class gets. Well, when we're talking about specific hours, that is measured, so that is what we call numerical. Oops, my pencil. ERICAL. It's numerical data because the responses will be numbers of hours measured. So it's numbers of hours. Okay, Josie. Josie says, I am collecting data to determine how much money each student's family spends on groceries each week. This is a big one now with inflation, right? All right. Well, when we're talking about how much they spend, it's absolutely numerical because, all right, because we can measure that, how much they're spending. It's the amount of money, right? And then finally, Heather. Heather says, I am collecting data on the color of cars that run the stoplight in front of the school. So the colors of cars. So I can see this either way, why you might say numerical or why you might say categorical. All right. So as long as you're proving it. But to me, I think this is more categorical. And I'll tell you why. It's more categoricals because it's going to be the colors of the cars. And those are groups, right? So it's the colors of cars. Okay. So when we look at this, we've broken down these into categorical or numerical. Categorical, if we go back up here, means groups. Numerical is something that is measured. Okay. Identify two numerical and two categorical data sets that could be observed about a standard deck of playing cards. Well, we know for categorical we have suits, right? So we have what? Spades, hearts, diamonds, and clubs. So categorical, we can group them in suits, right? And then the other thing is we can group them in colors, right? So we have two different colors. Hearts and diamonds are red, and spades and clubs are in the black group. Okay. So those are our groups, right? And let's keep writing that down. Now, numerical, the number of the face cards, sure, that can be measured, right? The number of them. So the number of face cards can be measured, all right? The number of red or black cards, right? The number of red or black cards, all right, can be measured, right? So that's important. Just a beginning lesson into this unit here. So good stuff so far. Let's flip the page and let's take a look at the next one. Okay. Now we're going to talk about statistical questions. All right. So this is confusing a little bit. So let's take our time. For a question to be considered statistical, it must meet two criteria. And the first one is the question must be able to be answered by data, facts, right? Things that you're seeing. You cannot have conjecture. You cannot come up with things. And the data must vary. It must vary. Okay? So, an example of this, now this is difficult. Okay? So, an example that I would come up is how many pets do sixth grade do the students in sixth grade at Neil Armstrong have, right? So how many pets pets sorry do do the students all right in sixth grade? I'm going to abbreviate that at NAMS have. Okay, now why is this statistical? Well, let's see if we've made these two criteria. First off, the question must be answered by data. How many pets do the students in sixth grade? Yes, I'm going to be surveying people to see. I might have one, Cam might have four, Brendan might have two, whatever. And the data is going to vary. So we're going to have a multitude of different answers. And that makes it statistical. Okay, and that's important that you follow along with that. So I've met both of these criteria with that. So now we're going to determine if these are statistical or non-statistical questions, okay? Number one, how many times a week do you go to football practice? Okay, do you go? And that's that pronoun of you tells us something. That is going to be non-statistical, all right? And I'll tell you why. Because how many times a week do sixth grade students play a sport? All right. And that would be right, rewriting it as statistical. I only have one answer for this. When I ask you how many times you go twice, you go three times. But if we change that you to students, right, now we're going to have a varying amount of data. All right. And that's why it will be statistical. Okay. Number two, on average, how many hours of sleep do you get each night? Again, do you get? Again, that is a non statistical question because we're talking about you. 1 hour of sleep or one answer. You're getting 1 hour, you're getting 5 hours, you're getting 8 hours, whatever. But if I want to change this to a statistical, on average, how many hours of sleep do students in PE class get each night? All right. So again, we want to change that more to students and we want varied answers, right? Number three. Now, this is statistical. I'm going to tell you that up front. Listen to it as I read. What is the maximum number of free throw shots students on the basketball team can make in a row? Okay, are we going to have data? Yep. How many they can make in a row? And we have students. So we're going to have more than one answer, and it's going to vary. So that is statistical. So, yes, statistical. Okay. All right. So we're doing okay so far. Tough lesson to start with here. Number four. It says create both a statistical and non-statistical question uh, of your own below. Okay. So go ahead and do that. All right. I want you to go back to that piece up top. Make sure that the question, all right, must be answered by data. And there has to be more than one answer. And when I come back on Friday, I'll ask you about those two things there. Okay. Lastly, number three, task three. Draw a line from each question to best describe uh, to the best description of the question. Not all choices will be used. Good. First one. How much were monthly utilities for each house in a neighborhood? Okay. So now we have two pieces of criteria. Is it numerical? Okay. Does it have a data value? If you've forgotten about that, we go back here to numerical. All right. And categorical. Can it be measured? And categorical, is it in a group? So, and then they want to know if it's statistical or not. So, how much were the monthly utilities for each house in a neighborhood? Is that a numerical number? Yes. Is it statistical? Yes, because there's more than one answer here. So it's both numerical and statistical. That's where we want to draw it. Okay. Number two, or whatever you want to call it. How many siblings do you have? All right. Well, can we put that into a group? No. So I don't think it's categorical. Okay, so I do think it's numerical. Siblings, I have a bunch. I have actually, believe it or not, I have seven, right? So a lot of people have different things. So that makes it numerical. All right. But we're talking about myself. So there's only one answer. So I don't think it's statistical, but it is numerical. Okay. Last one. What is each student's favorite restaurant in my class? All right. So, first up, all right, what is each student's favorite restaurant? All right. Is that numerical? No, that's more categorical. And you could break it down. Do I like Mexican? Do I like seafood? Do I like fast food? you could break it down. You can break it down into a different genre if you would like. So that is certainly going to be categorical. So that one is out. So I know it's either this or this. So I need to figure out if there's more than one answer or is there just one answer. What is each student's favorite restaurant in my class? Each student's, which is more than one. So therefore, it's going to take me over there. So it is categorical and statistical. Okay. So some new stuff today. If you flip the page, I got a couple things for you. So we do have this homework tonight. And I did load up a digital activity for you in Schoology on a review from the last unit. So make sure that you get that done. And have a good day, guys. I'll see you Friday.